Hello, my friends. It's April 1st, or as we say in Canada, it's Justin Trudeau's Day. Welcome to our daily live stream. It's what YouTube calls a super chat, which means you can comment in real time in that little box to the right of the screen. Not just that, but if you want your comments to be in a bright color and stuck to the top of that little box there, you can chip in a few dollars. That makes sure I see it out of the corner of my eye, and I like to read the super chats. One of the reasons I like super chats so much is that YouTube actually gives us 70% of the revenues therefrom. So it helps us keep strong. Thank you in advance. I have been doing this daily live stream for a couple weeks now as we deal with the unusual circumstance of the pandemic. The virus itself, of course, is quite unusual. The foreign policy implications of China lying and covering it up are quite unusual. But of course, the most impactful part of the whole crisis is the domestic government response to that, both Donald Trump in the United States and Justin Trudeau here in Canada, and how leaders in Canada, the United States, around the world are taking a crisis, in some ways mitigating it, and in many ways making it worse. Because the virus started in Wuhan, China, it hit neighboring countries sooner, faster, harder than Canada. Of course, in our globalized world, people fly from China everywhere. Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, those are international travel hubs for sure. In fact, to this day, there are direct flights from other cities in China too. Xiamen, Chengdu, Guangzhou. There are literally daily flights from those cities to Canada still to this day. But it could not compare with the hundreds of thousands of people who go from mainland China to Taiwan. As I've told you before, 800,000 Taiwanese actually live across the Strait of Formosa in China. And so Taiwan had to deal with the virus much earlier than the rest of the world. I'm going to show you how they did that in a 1-minute video. But coming up in about 5 minutes, I just want more people to join because I have video for you that I guarantee you have not seen anywhere in the world. In fact, I just received this video this morning. It is a 9-minute documentary from China about the Chinese virology lab in Wuhan going out and deliberately harvesting bats for their viruses. I have not had the chance to carefully go through the video yet myself, so we will do this together. In fact, Justin, if you want to send an email to Margaret to adjust the headline of this YouTube accordingly, we're going to go through together this Made in China documentary from a couple years ago, showing how the Level 4 high security Chinese Virology Institute, or whatever it's called, in Wuhan, China, didn't go to the local wet market where they eat bats and other gross things, but went into caves looking for bats to capture their viruses from. We'll get into that today, and we'll watch it together really for the first time. I just very briefly skimmed it. I just got the video this morning. So do me a favor and click share and like right now. I want to get a few more people watching before I roll out that video. We're going to go through it together. I think it's going to be important TV. So hit that bell, ring the bell as they say, and share this. I'd like to get a few more people watching before I roll out the video. We're going to do this together. Really going to go through it the first time live with you. Before I do that, let me show you I mentioned the April Fool, Justin Trudeau. He's at 21 days now of his self-hiding. It's not self-isolation. It's not quarantine. He doesn't have the bug. He's just decided he likes to hang out at home in his pajamas. And he can let his cabinet do the hard decisions. They're not very good at it. I want to show you a country that has no margin for error when it comes to dealing with these things. I mentioned Taiwan right across the water from China, huge integration in those two countries, but also very much alive to the fact that Communist China hates Taiwan, lies to Taiwan, marginalizes Taiwan, so Taiwan knows if it's going to look after itself, it has to be savvy and world-wise. It can't trust China or the Chinese-run World Health Organization. And I want to show you a video that was published almost a month ago by the Taiwanese president before we were even waking up to the problem. And you have to go a month earlier to realize that this video I'm about to show you that's almost a month old is the result of a month-long industrialization to make masks. So this is 2 months ago the Taiwanese started doing this. Here's a video from the Twitter account of President Tsai, the Taiwanese president, showing how 2 months ago they started tooling up for making masks for every single Taiwanese. We're just going to watch this video for a couple minutes and then we're going to look at the Chinese bat harvesting video together. But here's the video by President Tsai.
在这场防疫战中不只是第一线的医护人员是非常的辛苦在统筹各种物资跟生产的经济部，以及第一个时间支援的国防部，还有我们制造口罩的厂商，这每一位都让台湾社会感到安心。他们都是最可靠的支援的战力那么现在我们不只是看到成果，更有许多的国家现在开始注意到台湾，所有的成绩都是因为我们是预先规划，提早行动那身为总统，我一定要当面跟大家说一声谢谢，非常感谢我们台湾的口罩的国家队日以继夜的努力这一周呢，台湾制造也就是 MIT 的口罩已经可以出现单日突破1000万片的产量那如果包括假日，我们每一天的平均的产量也可以达到920万片我们虽然不是很大的国家但是我们国家的实力在这次的防疫的行动当中完全展现出来，已经有越来越多人了解台湾就是全球防疫网中不可或缺的一份子。那疫情公司规模也不是很大，但是防疫力量很大，在最短的时间就把分配到的新产线开发出最高的产能，这就是我们台湾中小型的企业世界级的实力。我们也要谢谢我们的国军的投入，因为有国军的加入，让口罩生产的人力的缺口以最快的速度我们都可以补充起来。我相信只要我们团结一致，就一定可以克服万难，那么度过疫情，这就是台湾人的韧性。
You know, I've watched that video about 5 times now, and the admiration and respect I have for Taiwan grows every time. For their competence, for their industriousness, for their foresight. There was a phrase there I jotted down: advanced planning and acting early. Those are character traits that Justin Trudeau lacks. To this day, we don't have that going on in Canada. There's some notable heroes. I mentioned in my monologue yesterday that Canada Goose is sewing scrubs, like surgical gowns for frontline staff. Their goal is to make 10,000. That's great. I'm proud of Canada Goose. 10,000, not 10 million masks per day that Taiwan is doing. That video was from almost a month ago, and to gear up to get that production line going, to get the 10 million masks a day, it took them a month before that. So even if Trudeau were to push the button today, and of course he's not, he's lazing around Rideau Cottage in his pajamas, it would be 2 months before we have that kind of production in Canada. Makes me sad for our own country, but it increases my admiration for Taiwan. And the reason they have to be that way is because they know China wants to kill them. China wants to conquer them and enslave them. China does not recognize Taiwan as an independent country. And so China has commanded the United Nations, the World Health Organization, which is an agency of the United Nations, to marginalize Taiwan also. So Taiwan knew it had to rely on itself. I see so many similarities between Taiwan and Israel. Both are hated by their nearby neighbors. Both are marginalized by globalist institutions like the UN. And both have to rely on their own wits to survive. And Israel has actually had a very strict response to the virus as well. I don't know as much about the Israeli response as I do the Taiwanese one. Okay, if you've all clicked share, I want to roll out, I want to say a quick thanks to Vince Axis Geo for $20 who said, Ezra, can Rebel investigate from a medical expert how to make medical masks at home and how to use and care for masks safely for all us dumb Canadians? You know, that's really good advice because we can't wait 2 months for masks to come. I see now European countries are making masks mandatory. I think it was Austria that's making them mandatory for people who go grocery shopping. You have to wear them. That makes sense. I was in the grocery store a couple days ago. No one was wearing masks because you can't get a mask in Canada. I went to the Home Depot. You can't get a mask. Where can you get a mask? I know it's insane, but a mask, a simple piece of cloth, we don't even have that because we shipped our national stockpile to China, Trudeau did. That's a good idea, Vince. Thank you. I'll put my thinking cap on about that. Okay, I said I would show, there's Carport Carl, $4. Thank you very much. And I think I've got all the super chats so far. One just came in. Charles Duran, great Rebel is joining Unifor. Congrats. The joke. Hey, before we get to the China movie, let's show that Unifor story. I just want a couple more people to join in, and then I'm going to show you a story. Rebel staff, vote to join Unifor. In these uncertain times, Rebel's 16 full-time employees voted in an online ballot to join the nation's largest private sector union. Prime Minister Trudeau's Liberal government are working full-time to protect the most essential business of all in Canada, journalism. To avoid shutting down, the management of Rebel News must agree to accept the vote of its employees and pursue the many offers of free money to be provided by the Liberal government to compliant reporters. For years, Ezra Levant has railed against what he calls the media party. Now, we want a party too. Sheila Gunn-Reid. Sheila's so funny. Canadian Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault is leading the charge to protect the people who need help the most, us, with a $30 million advertising slush fund for approved media organizations to fight against the spread of fake news. Coronavirus is on track to hit 1 million infections worldwide this week. Amid this panic, journalists must sacrifice their self-isolation, self-care time to spread life-saving government-sanctioned suggestions like don't wear a mask. By joining Unifor, our reporters will get access to Trudeau's press conferences so we can ask the tough questions we built our reputation on, like, why are you so awesome? Negotiations for new contracts are underway. Sheila Gunn-Reid seeks permission to break the 6 feet social distancing rule so a hairstylist may provide a Lisa LaFlamme-style blowout 5 days a week. David Menzies requires an upgrade from his hockey stick microphone extension, and Cian Bexley is demanding new artwork for his living room. It's been 2015 for 5 years. My studio's background should be decorated with paintings by strong female artists. I just want someone else to pay for it, Cian Bexley. Unifor calls on Ezra Levant and Rebel News Network to release office-based Rebel employees from the requirement that we ought tidy our own dishes and replace empty toilet paper rolls. These tasks put an undue burden on the Rebel workforce, and this challenging work must be contracted to an outside firm to provide work for other Unifor unions. I'm nobody's coffee boy. Ezra has to hire kitchen staff. We only have a Keurig machine. We don't even have a Nespresso, David Menzies. At the time of this release, Unifor President Jerry Diaz has not responded to our calls. Rebel News has until April 31st, 2020 to formally accept the outcome of this vote. April Fools! That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, that's how most journalists get paid in Canada. The CBC literally has more journalists working for it than all other private sector news organizations combined. That is a mathematical fact. And if that wasn't enough, Justin Trudeau bought off all the newspapers with a $600 million bailout, and now a $30 million. The first people bailed out in the virus were the journalists. The first people. Arts Connects to Truth, $5. Thank you very much. Okay, we got almost 1,000 people watching. Let's start going through this Chinese video. Do you have the Chinese video that Jeff ripped? Okay. I want to tell you, I have not gone through this yet. I just skimmed it and I thought, let's go through it together on my noontime Eastern live stream. So this is about 9 minutes. It's in the Chinese language. I don't speak Chinese. So Justin, I'm going to really lean on you to sort of move ahead, move back kind of thing to things that we can understand with our eyes. But let's play the first little bit of it just to set things up. This is a made in China documentary on bats and viruses and Wuhan. We found this morning on a Chinese website. So go ahead and play it. We're all in this together, watching this together at the same time. So go ahead, Justin. So this is obviously, can they hear my voice over top? Yeah. So this is obviously a professionally produced documentary. Obviously it's government propaganda. You saw the name of the agency, China Science Communication. Youth in the Wild. That's a cave, obviously. Did you see the bat there? When we are confronted with an invisible enemy, we can find threats hidden deeper. Only when we hide ourselves. It sounds like a haiku. Youth in the Wild, the invisible defender. So this is calling these virus scientists invisible defenders. So he's got his protective gear. I am not a doctor, but I work to cure and save people. Really, do you, mate?
却守护着一条看不见的国防线。至于它里面的结果是生理正中间这里，按这个来说应该是成功。我是田俊华，从事病毒样本采集。
I work in virus sample collection and classification.
边防线的守卫者。
Those are some ominous images.
病毒就是人类生命的杀手。
Viruses have been the leading cause of human death. They have been highly elusive and caught people off guard.
病毒肉眼不可见，
Invisible to the naked
可
eye.
以通过变媒生物
Infect people through vectors.
而变媒生物在进化过程中
Over the course of evolution, vectors have coexisted with the
可能形
viruses.
成了抑制病毒
A
的
vector
物质
is
我们只有
the host of the
变媒
virus, I
生
think.
物，才能为制作疫苗奠定重要的基础。而这
This
是
is
我
our
们肩负的
mission.
使命。
Wuhan Centers for Disease Prevention and Control. There you go. Did you see that? That's their top. Okay, keep rolling. That's their top virus lab in the whole country. Just happens to be in Wuhan. So this guy's out there catching creepy crawlies.
潜伏、观察。山野是我的办公室。
It's a very pretty background. This is very professionally done. The caves are my workbench. Oh, can you go back 10 seconds? What did he say there about the caves? Mountains and plains service my office. Is that so pretty? Yeah, keep going. The caves are my workbench. One female and one male. We are so lucky. So he's catching bats. He's going into caves and catching bats. Hubei province. It's a treasure trove for vectors. This tick can kill people. We caught one now.
但一部分变媒生物生活的环境，对人类来说非常恶劣，
Harsh for
是一个极
humankind.
大考验。
This is a hell of a video. This is not some
在
amateur
已知的
production.
生物中，
Among all known
蝙蝠
creatures,
体里
the
病毒的
bats are
微
rich in various viruses
可以
inside.
找到绝大多数
You
的
can find most viruses responsible for human diseases,
狂犬病毒
like rabies virus, SARS, and Ebola.
就是蝙蝠栖息的
Accordingly, the
空气
caves frequented by bats become our main battlefields. He's going into the cave of bats.
潮湿、
Wet,
黑暗、
dark,
孤独。
and lonely. Yeah, that's
蝙
right.
蝠的生活环境，
Bats usually live in caves humans can hardly reach.
但只有这样的环境，
Only in these places can we find the most ideal virus vector samples. Watch out! Most bats living here are horseshoe bats. Oh, can you go back for 1 second? See, the horseshoe bats, that's such an important point. And horseshoe bats. Yeah, oh, and Pipistrellus abramus. I'm going to Google that for a second. Pipistrellus abramus. That's also called a Japanese house bat. Okay, I just Googled that. Remember that word horseshoe bat, okay? I'm going to come back to that later. I'll just tell you why now. Horseshoe bats are not for sale in the Wuhan wet market, and I'll give you my proof point for that later. So horseshoe bats and Pipistrellus abramus, that's also called a Japanese bat. Keep going. If we keep our skin bare, we can easily get contact with the feces of bats, which contaminate everything. So it's highly risky here. It usually takes several days living in the bats' caves
关系，往往在山洞
to
里
analyze the
碰上
symbiotic relations between bat populations and viruses. No cell phone signals,
没有补给，
no supplies.
是真的害怕，
I can feel the fear,
怕感染，
fear of infections,
怕迷路，
fear of getting lost.
因为害怕，
With this fear,
所以我每一
I
步
take every
都
step
很小心
extremely cautiously.
越是害怕，
The more I feel the fear,
就把每一个细
the more I
节
take
做，
cautions in doing the details.
因为你发现病毒
Because when you find the viruses,
也是最容易被病毒
you're
感染
also
的
most
过程
easily exposed to the viruses.
这是一场没有
This is
硝
a
烟
true
的
battle
战斗
only without the smoke of gunpowder. Look at those bats, look at those teeth. You got to spread the net open just like this.
一定要把这个洞封死。
Make sure the cave is fully sealed.
出来一个，
There's one bat. The only mammals can fly.
要不然它会往下破。
Make sure it will not rip the net open. Let's do the sample collection, then analyze the viruses they take.
好，发现一个皮虫，
Okay, we've got a tick
长福
here.
音皮，非常特殊的。
Oh, go back for a second. Go back. They named the tick. Ixodes vespertilionis. I'm just going to Google that. Ixodes vespertilionis. That's just a tick. That's just a tick. It's a bat tick. Okay. Thanks. I just wanted to. I didn't know what that word was. That's keep going. Very special type of tick. You cannot find it anywhere else.
收获非常大。
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
这是一条未知的
It's a
路，
road never traveled.
就像蝙蝠生
Just
存
like
的
the
洞
caves
穴，
frequented by the
深不
bats.
见底。
It's so deep.
你望着深渊，
When you look long into an abyss, the abyss looks into you. That's what was that what Freud. If anything, looks into you too.
有东西是别人无法
There's
替代
something
的
other people can never do for you. Once I find myself in this situation,
我学会了对自
I've
己
learned to
的
examine myself. That's his son,
克服了恐惧，
and overcome my fears.
需要家里的人
I
来
need
支
the
持。
support of my family.
习惯了，挺有
I
意
got
思
used to this. It's kind of interesting.
路虽然不好走，
The road is bumpy,
但必须
but we must
学会在迷
learn
茫
to
中
stick to our initial
坚持
choice
自己的
when
方
we've
向。
when we feel confused and lost. Yeah, I'd holler like that if I got out of that cave of
在
doom.
过去的10
In
多
the
年，
past 10 plus years,
我们走遍了
we have
湖北
visited
的
every
各角
corner
落
of Hubei province.
探索了几十个
We
没有
explored
开发
dozens
的
of
洞穴，
undeveloped caves.
研究
Lucilia
病毒的
sericata-
300
pos-
多种。
Lucilia sericata. Lucilia, I'm guessing Lucilia is from the Latin for light. I'm guessing that's a firefly. Sericata, let's see. Common green bottle fly. Okay, I should stop pretending that I know Latin. Keep going.
研究病毒媒介300
300
多
types of virus vectors,
但我却希望
but I
这
do
些
hope
病毒样本
these virus
只是作为科研而留存。
preserved for. Oh, go back. I was looking at the names instead of reading the words. But I do hope these virus samples will only be preserved for scientific research. Keep going.
而留存，永远都不会
And will
因为
never
一
be
天
used in real life. Well, you know what? That's what we call foreshadowing, people. That's what we call foreshadowing. That's a dramatic moment. I hope these viruses will never be used in real life. Keep going.
永远都不会有应用的一天，因为人类需要的不
Because
仅
humans
是疫
need
苗，
not only the vaccines,
更是一份来自
but also
大
the
自然的守
protection
护。
from the nature. Pause. Nearly 2,000 types of viruses have been discovered by Chinese CDC authorities over the last 12 years. Only 2,284 types of viruses had been discovered worldwide over the 200 years prior to China's discovery. They're very proud. They're a virus superpower. Keep going. China has taken the lead in the world in the field of basic research of virus. And then I'm guessing these are the film credits. What was that at the end there? Just hop to the next one. So there you have it. How many minutes was that whole thing? Is that 7.5 minutes? So what I have just shown you is what I've just watched for the very first time. Justin, can you go to the Chinese website that we took this from? And can you flip that to me, actually? I want to review the year of that. I think that was a 2018 video, am I right? So what we saw there was obviously predates the pandemic, obviously. They were so proud of their work they were doing. This guy in particular, it says 2019. Is that what it says right at the bottom there? Can you blow that up a bit? And where do you see 2019? Oh, that's right. Okay, got it. Can you unhighlight that? I find it hard to see. 2000. Now that's when they uploaded it. So that looks like it was uploaded in December, if that's their, 2019, 12/11. December 11th, or is that November 12th? I don't know how they do the dates. Can you scroll down? Can you throw this whole page in Google Translate? Do you know how to do that? Just open google.translate.com, grab the URL, paste it in the left-hand box, click on the right-hand box. Let's translate that page together. We're doing this in real time, folks. This is very, very strange, but very fascinating. Would you agree with me? I did not know that in the whole of human history, and every scientist in the world discovered about 2,000 viruses, and China itself discovered that same amount on its own just in a decade. They are obsessed with viruses. Would you agree with me that that's so obviously true? All right, did you throw that page in there? I've got mine. I just did it here. Just scroll down. We don't need to see the video. It says video introduction. The sound is engulfed by breath, so it starts giving us just the English there. And there's just not a lot. This is really just sort of a video sharing page. Cappuccino.org.cn, Video Express. This looks like a Chinese version of YouTube, that's all. And it's obviously a produced video. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to shut down that screen here. So what do you think of that? I think what we found there is an important part of the story. There's a guy from the Wuhan Virology Lab who goes out into caves hunting for viruses, capturing creepy crawlies and bats and ticks, and taking samples, blood, urine, whatever, and then going back to the lab. They've discovered 2,000 of these, and he says, very foreboding, I hope these are only used for good. Yeah, me too, bro. And now let me take you to part 2 of our story, which I learned from Tucker Carlson on his show yesterday. Do you have the Tucker clip? So what I showed you was a Chinese virus researcher going in, and remember what we said, what was the kind of bat that we said? Was it a horseshoe bat? A horseshoe bat. And then the other bat we looked up was a Japanese bat. I forgot the name of it already. Mike App, 10 pounds. Ezra, thank you for all you do. Do you think Canada and the West could sanction China until they ban those markets in food? Something has to be done. Well, that's a good point. What I am getting at, Mike, is that perhaps it wasn't the food market, but this guy and his colleagues deliberately going to the caves of Hubei and deliberately capturing viruses. Okay, so let's play Tucker. And so I said horseshoe bat, that's what I said? Okay, so you saw in that Chinese science video there, horseshoe bat. I'm sorry, I have so many bat names in my head, I forgot where I heard what. So here's Tucker yesterday, go ahead.
Here's what the paper says. First, the scientists confirm what scientists around the world have said they believe. The virus most likely came from an animal known as the intermediate horseshoe bat. Here's the striking thing. There are no known colonies of this bat within 900 kilometers of Wuhan, nor is there any evidence that they were sold in the Wuhan wet market, despite many claims in the American media to the contrary, including on this show, by the way. Last night we did a segment on wet markets, the one in Wuhan included, and suggested that this bat was sold there. But let's be clear, the only actual analysis of that question that we're aware of is in this paper. These scientists interviewed almost 60 people, 59 of them, who frequented the Wuhan wet market. They confirmed there were no horseshoe bats for sale there, period. So that raises the question, where did the virus-carrying bats come from? And the paper says this, quote, we screened the area around the market and identified 2 laboratories conducting research on bat coronavirus. Within a few hundred yards of the wet market was something called the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention. According to public reports, the center used intermediate horseshoe bats for research. Then about 7 miles away was another facility. This one was called the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Virology Institute also conducted research on intermediate horseshoe bats, the ones that were not sold at the wet market. South China University scientists concluded that the coronavirus pandemic, the one that people are dying from here, likely came from one of these 2 government labs in Wuhan. They noticed that a scientist at the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention had been exposed to the blood and urine of horseshoe bats. They also suggested that infected tissue samples from research animals may have wound up in the Wuhan wet market. And they ended the paper this way, quote, the killer coronavirus probably originated from a laboratory in Wuhan. Safety levels may need to be reinforced in high-risk biohazardous laboratories. Regulations may be taken to relocate these laboratories far away from city centers and other densely populated places.
What do you think of that, people? Now, while that was playing, I watched that yesterday. While that was playing, I just found the South China University of Technology paper, and I just emailed it to you. This is a scientific paper. Thanks. And can you pump up the size a bit? Thank you. As you can see, this is from what's called ResearchGate. Can you save that, by the way? Or don't worry about it, I'll save it. The possible origins of 2019 novel coronavirus. So there's 2 authors, Bo Tao Xiao, and scroll down, Lei Xiao. And you can see their affiliations. Yeah, scroll down a bit, sorry. Keep going. Okay. So do you see Bo Tao Xiao has 2 footnotes and Lei Xiao? So those are their credentials. Bo Tao Xiao is the Joint International Research Laboratory of Synthetic Biology and Medicine, School of Biology and Biological Engineering, South China University of Technology, Guangzhou. He's also with the School of Physics at the Huazhong University of Science and Technology in Wuhan, China. And Xiao Lei is at Tianyou Hospital, Wuhan University of Science and Technology, China. Obviously, I've never heard of these people before, but this appears to be a peer-reviewed paper from ResearchGate. One of them appears to be affiliated with 2 universities and the other with a hospital in Wuhan University. So I'm going to read this through with you, okay? So we're doing this together, and you'll notice we're going straight to the primary documents. I've shown you the provenance of these things to the best of my ability. All right, let's read it together. You want to, can you pump it up one size bigger? The 2019 NCOV, that means novel coronavirus, has caused an epidemic of 28,000 laboratory-confirmed infections in human, including 564 deaths in China by February 6, 2020. Now, we now know that the number was much larger, but let's proceed. 2 descriptions of the virus published on Nature, that's a well-regarded international science paper, this week indicated that the genome sequences from the patients were 96% or 89% identical to bat coronavirus, ZC45 coronavirus, originally found in Rhinolophus affinis. What is that, you say? I'm going to check right now. Rhino is the word for nose, I know that. The intermediate horseshoe bat. That's what Rhinolophus affinis is. It was critical to study where the pathogen came from and how it passed on to human. An article published on The Lancet, that's the British Journal of Medicine, reported that 41 people in Wuhan were found to have the acute respiratory syndrome, and 27 of them had contact with Huanan seafood market. And you see there's a little footnote there, and that leads to the footnote just leads to the article in The Lancet, so that's just showing their work. Let's keep going. The coronavirus was found in 33 out of 585 samples collected in the market after the outbreak. The market was suspicious to be the origin of the epidemic and was shut down according to the rule of quarantine, the source during an epidemic. This is not a perfectly translated document, as you can see. The bats carrying coronavirus ZC45, so that's an earlier version, were originally found in Yunnan or Zhejiang province, both of which were more than 900 kilometers away from the seafood market. Bats were normally found to live in caves and trees, but the seafood market is in a densely populated district of Wuhan, a metropolitan of 15 million people. The probability was very low for the bats to fly to the market. According to municipal reports and the testimonies of 31 residents and 28 visitors, the bat was never a food source in the city, and no bat was traded in the market. There was possible natural recombination or intermediate host of the coronavirus, yet little proof has been reported. Now we're getting to the heavy part, folks. By the way, we're halfway done. This is not a very long paper. Was there any other possible pathway? We screened the area around the seafood market and identified 2 laboratories conducting research on bat coronavirus. Within 280 meters from the market, not 900 kilometers, 280 meters, that's a meter's 3 feet, so that's 1,000 feet from the market, there was the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And then figure 1 from Baidu and Maps. So scroll down. Can you scroll down? All the way down, all the way down. There's the map. So you got your Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and there's your Huanan seafood market. Hey, there's a good idea. And by the way, in between you can see there's ocean. Can you zoom in a little bit? There's ocean cuisine. That's a couple banks. There's a hotel right across the street. Jamaica Blue Fine Coffee. I don't know if you see that. Yeah, so that's, and then Wuhan Youfu Hospital Dining Hall. They got a lot of restaurants around the virus clinic because as you might. Okay, go back up to the words again. Unbelievable. So the Wuhan Center for Disease Control, can you see where I'm reading again? You can even highlight it with the cursor if you want. Hosted animals in laboratories for research purpose, one of which was specialized in pathogens collection and identification. Yeah, we saw the guy out collecting bat samples. In one of their studies, 155 bats, including Rhinolophus affinis, were captured in Hubei province, and another 450 bats were captured in Zhejiang province. The expert in collection was noted in author contributions. Moreover, he was broadcasted for collecting viruses on nationwide newspapers and websites in 2017, 2019. I think we saw the guy. He described that he was once attacked by bats and the blood of a bat shot on his skin. He knew the extreme danger of the infection, so he quarantined himself for 14 days. In another accident, he quarantined himself again because bats peed on him. He was once thrilled for capturing a bat carrying a live tick. That's footnote 8. Let's go down to footnote 8. Playing the elephant dung, fishing for sea bottom mud, the work that will change China's future. So he's bragging about his adventures getting bat pee and blood. And he was thrilled that once a bat peed on him. Surgery was performed on caged animals, and the tissue samples were collected for DNA and RNA extraction and sequencing. The tissue samples and contaminated trashes were source of pathogens. They were only 280 meters from the seafood market. The Wuhan Center for Disease Control was also adjacent to the Union Hospital. Yeah, I showed you. Here, go show the map one more time. Show the map. The hospital's on the left there. Okay, well, there's a hospital. There's a lot of hospitals. You see that there? Wuhan Social Welfare Institute. Okay, scroll down a little bit. Yeah. There's a supermarket. Union Hospital. There it is. You see that? Union Hospital Tumor Center inpatient. So you're chopping up your bats across the street from a hospital. The Wuhan Center for Disease Control was also adjacent to the Union Hospital, Figure 1, where the first group of doctors were infected during the epidemic. It is plausible that the virus leaked around and some of them contaminated the initial patients in this epidemic, though solid proofs are needed in future study. The second laboratory was 12 kilometers from the seafood market and belonged to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, Chinese Academy of Sciences. This laboratory reported that the Chinese horseshoe bats were natural reservoirs for the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, which caused the 2002 and 2003 pandemic. The principal investigator participated in a project which generated a chimeric virus using the SARS coronavirus reverse genetic system and reported the potential for human emergence. A direct speculation was that SARS coronavirus or its derivative might leak from the laboratory. In summary, somebody was entangled with the evolution of 2019 coronavirus. In addition to origins of natural recombination and intermediate hosts, the killer coronavirus probably originated in a laboratory in Wuhan. Safety level may need to be reinforced in high-risk biohazardous laboratories. You don't say! You don't say! Regulations may be taken to relocate these laboratories far away from city center and other densely populated places. You don't say. You don't say. Why don't you put it in a daycare? How's that for a good idea? A petting zoo. And that's the study. I'll just read the end notes here. Contributors, BX, that's Bo Tao Xiao. BX designed the comment and performed literature search. All authors performed data acquisition and analysis, collected documents, draw the figure, and wrote the papers. Acknowledgements. This work is supported by the National Natural Science Foundation of China. So this is a government-sponsored research paper, excuse me. Declaration of interest, that's what academics do. All authors declare no competing interests. And then the references, you can see when they refer to different footnotes. These are them. And then the map. That's the paper. That's the paper. I'm going to save that to my hard drive right now. My friends, what we have done these past minutes together is ask questions. Tucker Carlson referred to them last night. Let's give the man credit. I think I've taken you through the paper. I may be the first person to do that in Western media, maybe not. But I certainly have not heard this news anywhere in the mainstream media. Have you? I have not heard this from the World Health Organization. Have you? Let me catch up on Super Chats. Mike Seguin, $140. That's very generous. Thanks, Mike. Hey, if you haven't hit share, go ahead and share. Damon the Dam is $50. Am I crazy for thinking that if this is biowarfare, the goal is to get the West to think like the East by scaring everyone to endorse state control? I don't know. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, Puff Daddy. Ezra, what do your political spidey sense tell you by the time the crisis is over? Do you believe the voters of Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada will finally see Prime Minister Trudeau for who he really is, not ready? Why and why not? I don't know. They're probably going to think he's a hero of the day who saved the day. I mean, and they'll think that because the media tells them to think that. And I read you the April Fool's Day press release we put out today. It's funny because it's so close to the truth. All the other media are on the take. What do you think of that, Justin? What do you think of that?
I think it's crazy.
He just says to me, I think it's crazy and not shocking, though. Oh, another super chat from El Chapacabra, $27.99. Thank you very much. I don't see it, but Justin just told me that in my ear. So was there a message attached to it, or just? Okay, he's going to email it to me. Well, I am. My mind is reeling because I think we have seen two important pieces of the puzzle. I think we see a short but authoritative research paper that, and I like how short it is, and there's a lot of plain language there. That was published pre-print February 2020. And there's a link here. Like I want to double check and triple check this because in this day and age, you gotta make sure you're not being tricked by disinformation. Am I right? But if what I read is in fact a publication by a published academic, more than that, one that was sponsored by two Chinese universities and a China University hospital. This is publication 339070128 on ResearchGate. I'm going to go there right now. I'm going to go to the root document here. I'm having trouble. I'll do that later on my own time. But if this was indeed published by Bo Tao Xiao 2 months ago, sponsored by the National Natural Science Foundation of China, affiliated with 2 different universities and a university hospital, And why would I doubt the authenticity of this? And that video is a real video. That video was published before the virus broke. That video is actually referenced in this study because that guy, why don't you put it up as B-roll while we talk? That guy who was going spelunking, I think that's put me off spelunking. I've been to a few caves in my life, and it's sort of fun, and I honestly have never encountered a bat. I think if I had any appetite to go into caves, I think that appetite is officially sated for the rest of my life. So as you can see, this was a professional, this is like a youth in the wild, the invisible defender. Like they thought this was a really sexy, cool, dramatic, and it was. It was. I am not a doctor, but I work to cure and save people. I am not a soldier, but I work to safeguard an invisible national defense line. Look at the inside structure, right in the middle. What was it? Go back. What was that red stuff? What was that red and green stuff? What's that? What's that? Why is that red, and is that bat blood and bat pee? I don't know. That's not the color. That looks too light to be the color of blood. I don't know what bat pee looks like. That looks a little green to me. But those are just open vials. May I point out that there's no lids on those vials. And there's a little metal fence around that trolley, but it's not close to the pee vial, is it? Yeah, keep rolling the B-roll. So that's I don't know what that is. But you know, there's the plague imagery. Okay, you could take that down now. So China's a big place. What's the population? Is it 1.4 billion? Or is it 1.2 billion? 1.386 billion 2 years ago, according to Google. So it's probably 1.4 billion today. You got 1.4 billion people in China. Wuhan's a big city, but I'm willing to bet you've never heard of it until this virus. 15 people in the greater Wuhan area. That would be the largest city in North America, right? I mean, well, maybe Mexico City's bigger. Like that is yeah, wow, look at that. So China. So Wuhan sounds huge to you and me, but it's 1% the size of China. There are 20 other cities as big as Wuhan, right? China is, what, the third or fourth or fifth largest country in the world geographically. Russia's the biggest, Canada's number 2. Then you probably got Australia, America, China, India. Like geographically, it's a large country. It's a large country. Not as large as Canada, but it's large. So you have a very populous country, the most in the world, a fairly large country geographically, top 5. What are the odds that this virus breaks out in the city where they're doing these virology experiments? What are the odds of that? They got wet markets everywhere. I remember when I was in Shanghai. They had a market there. Just the air in there, the dander and the animal crud in the air. I wanted to puke just walking through it. They have these wet markets throughout China. If you're not used to it, you will gag. They are super gross. Yeah, maybe that's a cultural ethnocentrism on my part, but I don't need to show you any more images of people eating live animals, live wild animals. I'm just not going to do that today because it grosses me out. But I say again, there's wet markets all across China. I've seen it with my own eyes, all across China. So that's not a Wuhan-specific thing, right? Wuhan's a big city, but it's not the biggest. What are the odds that this bat-based virus just coincidentally starts in the bat virus research town where they have the virology lab just 280 meters from the wet market and just across the street from the hospital? And then there's that Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee place, and then there's the Ocean Restaurant, and there's the hotel right across the street. They put their virus lab right in the middle of town. And I read to you the passage where they interviewed 59 people. And they said, no, that bat wasn't for sale here. That's a different bat. The kind of bat that you saw that cave spelunker harvesting, the type that peed on him, bled on him, attacked him. I don't know what the truth is. The thing about, can we get a Chernobyl clip? The thing about communist regimes, I like the one, I don't know if it's possible, the one where the big boss comes in from Moscow, the Central Committee, you know, and the locals come to him with a list of scapegoats. We use that. You can't find that one. I think we used it in a mono. Yeah, that's fine. See, it's human nature to cover up a mistake, right? I'm sorry, that is human nature. It's hard to be honest when you screwed up. It's embarrassing, especially when you're supposed to be infallible like a government. We have that in Western democracies, but in Western democracies, there are countervailing forces, right? There's opposition parties. There's a free press. That's why in Canada, when Justin Trudeau tries to undermine opposition parties, it's a worry. When he tries to buy off the free press, it's a worry. You know, it's 12:57. We don't have time for the Chernobyl clip. You have whistleblower protection. You have auditors, auditors general, inspectors. You have independent police and courts, independent court. You have all these checks and balances. It's an adversarial system, checks and balances. There are other entities in society that for every ounce of shame and cover-upness in the government, you have an ounce of, I want to find that, by a rival force. A prosecutor wanting to make a name for themselves, a whistleblower wanting to get famous and make money, a journalist wanting the scoop, you know, just people acting out of patriotism and good faith. You have all these other countervailing forces in a liberal democracy that you don't have in a totalitarian or authoritarian regime like China and the Soviet Union during Chernobyl. I want to do more research on these two scholars, and I want to see if he was one of the men arrested by local police for spreading false rumors. As you know, the police in Wuhan arrested 8 doctors in December for spreading false rumors. Let me read some super chats. Patty Hunt, $5, thank you. Mike Seguin, 140, wow, thank you. El Chapacabra, 28, if you go on the Wuhan Institute of Virology website, they have a new job posting for biosafety security person. In November, they had job postings for people to work on bat immunization of SARS and other coronaviruses. Okay, super chat 2. El Chapacabra again. I read that one already. I think I've caught up on my super chats. Is that right? Yeah, send it over. I think I read it. I might not have. I don't want to miss these very, very generous super chats people are giving. Thank you for that. Well, what do you think of what I found here, people? A promotional video, very beautifully produced. A little bit rock star style, a little bit sort of National Geographic science-y, but also propaganda-ish. He's a hero. They made him look really cool. They also humanized him by talking about his family, showing his kid, and he was doing this to protect his country. It was very, very professional propaganda. Don't think for a second that China is as ham-fisted in their propaganda as, say, North Korea or even the Soviets. That's sophisticated persuasion. And that predates the virus. So you show the guy hunting for bats. You show him boasting that they've discovered more viruses than the entire world combined. And now you have this paper in February by 2 Chinese scientists affiliated with 3 different institutions in Wuhan, showing Google Maps, showing where everything was, talking about what that spelunker said, oh, I was peed on, I was bled on. What do you think? That the bat that this bug came from was not from the wet market, but it very much was a bat that this spelunker was finding. What do you think of that? Last super chat, focus on El Chupacabra, or focus on Bible codes. Have you looked into the patents of coronavirus? I have seen that come across my email several times, and my response is, coronavirus is a kind of virus, if I am correct. In fact, as I took you through that Chinese scientific paper, you'll see I referred to different kinds of coronavirus. I think SARS was a coronavirus. I said ZC something something. So coronavirus is a kind of virus. The novel coronavirus 19 being a particular version of it. So I do not believe that the patents you're referring to are for the coronavirus that is currently sweeping the world. I could be wrong on that, but that's my reaction. Well, my friends, thank you for spending an hour with me. Time flies. I'm going to go deeper into this on my own time, but I'm glad I watched it with you in real time. Now you know what I know. And there may be explanations, there may be other facts out there that we should keep our open mind to, but you would have to have a closed mind not to think that that propaganda video of the virus hunter and that study by 2 Wuhan doctors, you would need a closed mind. You would have to be willfully blind. You would have to deliberately close your mind to those facts to dismiss them. We got the clip for Chernobyl. We'll save it for tomorrow. All right, my friends, that's it for now. I got to go do some other work. Until tonight at 8 p.m., where I'm sure I'm going to do my show on this tonight. I was going to do something else, but this is just on my mind now. So I'll go deeper tonight at 8 p.m. You can buy a subscription to our Rebel News Plus. That's what we call our premium content. Every day at 8 p.m. Eastern, I do a paywall show. Then I go deep. It's a more produced show, and I interview someone. Today, were we interviewing the doctor, the Taiwanese doctor, today? Yeah. So we're talking to a doctor, a Taiwanese doctor, about what they did right. So that's going to be on tonight's show, and I'm going to go deeper on this Wuhan virology business. So if you want to sign up, just go to rebelnews.com, click subscribe. It's $8 a month. You get my show every day, and Sheila Gunn-Reid has a show once a week, and David Menzies has a show. All right, well, I feel like I've opened a Pandora's box. That's how I feel. I want to be careful that I don't misunderstand or misinform. But I think if you do not look into this, you're closing an eye to facts that just shout out to be discussed. All right, that's it. Until next time, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, to you at home, stay safe and keep fighting for freedom.